And I want to start off with congratulating some of your board members on your recent win and your re-election. That's great. I just wanted to introduce myself again in my new role as general manager at Rancho Water, and then talk about a few of the things that we're working on at Rancho and some of our strategic initiatives. And I want to start off with congratulating some.
You've been close.
That's doppelganger.
Wow.
That's cool. All right, see if I can get this thing to work.
I thought he was just speaking off the top of his head, but he was pre-recorded.
Didn't know that
There we
lip
go.
syncing was among his talents.
So just a little bit about me. Nobody likes to talk a lot about themselves, but forgive me, I will for just a second. So I've been with Rancho Water for over 18 years. Started off as the customer service manager in 2006. Interestingly enough, one of the first things I did during my tenure, and it was about a year and a half into the job, is I went to a training in Chicago with the GFOA, and that's where I met Kevin Mascaro. We actually happened to be in the very same class, so he's been my friend for a long time and appreciate that relationship. I was appointed as general manager in September of this year. I was interim for about 3 months prior to that. The board had asked me to do that, and happy to do so, and appreciate their support and their ability to think that somebody who's been in this organization for as long as I have can stay here and continue to lead our team. So I appreciate their support on that. Previously served, as I mentioned, as the assistant general manager, and then before that as the director of administration. Just a little bit on our executive team. No one can lead without a great team that works with them and for them. This is our group, and I know that a lot of the staff has worked with our team, and some of them have even been here to present to the board in the past. But this team, including myself, represents over 88 years of experience at Rancho. So a lot of not only industry experience, but agency-specific experience that I'm lucky enough to have in helping support me in the initiatives that we're working on. A little bit about Rancho Water, some background. You know most of this, but again, I'll just briefly touch on it. We're almost 60 years old. Next year will be our 60-year anniversary, so we'll be celebrating that. We provide water, wastewater, recycled water services to about 46,000 connections in Murrieta, Temecula, and some unincorporated areas of Riverside County. We've got a 7-member board of directors. I'm happy to announce that we had 3 up for election, and everything's looking like they'll be reelected, and things are looking great there. So excited about that. And one important thing to note that, again, I know most of the board is aware of, but we have a significant amount of agriculture that the district supports in our area, about 10,000 acres overall. And that really ties directly into about a $1.2 billion economic activity annually. And so from the winery visits to the hotel stays to just the visits to Old Town and all of those things, brings in a lot of revenue to the economy, and we're very proud of that, and we're continue to try to sustain that. Some of the strategic projects that we're working on, and these all fall under the umbrella of what we call our Water Resources Program. And I've got a little video to show here about a groundbreaking that we did, which we're pretty excited about. But really 6 things fall under this umbrella. We've got our Upper Valle de los Caballos expansion. To put that into simple terms, that's our groundwater recharge facility. We're in the process right now of expanding that, and I'll talk a little bit more about it. And we're also trying to expand into our mid-Paba groundwater area. That's a little bit to the southwest of our primary recharge facility, but trying to find some additional land and area there where we can do more groundwater recharge and bring in that less expensive raw water versus treated water. We're also looking at the Upper Mesa. That's probably to the northeast of our existing groundwater recharge basin. That's kind of untapped at this moment in time. It looks like there's a lot of capacity in that area, but we're not sure of is how much it can actually hold and store. It looks more like it could be a put and take operation, because as soon as you put it in there, it wants to come out. And so we're looking to see if that's a possibility to not only store our own water, but maybe even regionally, how can we bring some partners in to store their water as well. As every agency throughout our region and the country is dealing with, we've got PFAS and water quality issues, so we're trying to figure out how to best deal with that. Have about 4 wells offline right now because of PFAS. So we've brought in a program manager to help us understand the best ways to potentially treat that and get those wells back online. We've also are looking to maximize our recycled water, and we've talked about through our strategic alliance with Eastern, Western, and Elsinore, potential for brine line expansion and how we can utilize that. And so that's still on the table. And then lastly, we've got this little tiny project called Vale Dam Rehabilitation. Vale Dam, yeah, a little tiny thing. I'll talk a little bit more about that too when we get further in the presentation. So the Upper Valle de los Caballos project, this is really an expansion of our groundwater program. It allows us to maximize that storage and increases our resiliency and reliability. And obviously our goal is to not have to purchase as much treated import water and rely more on the raw water that comes at a lower cost. Additionally, we have the Vale Dam. In 2012, the Department of Safety of Dams did their review and determined that it was not seismically didn't meet seismic standards in a maximum earthquake event, and so we've got to look at ways to do something with that dam. There were several ideas: remove it altogether, lower it, raise it. Ultimately, we decided to just simply replace it altogether and put a new dam in front of it, and that's the rendering that you see on the bottom picture on the right-hand side. There is what that'll look like. That concrete rolled compacted dam. Ultimately, in about 3 or 4 years, we hope to have that complete. So what does the Upper Valle de los Caballos project comprise? Well, we've got a bunch of things going on. We're putting in 4 new wells, and that includes well pads, drilling of the wells, equipping those wells. We've also got to expand and install water disinfection facilities. We also need a way to move all of that additional water around, so we're putting in a brand new pump station right in the middle of the facility to allow us to do that. We are also trying to get creative. One of our engineers decided it would be a good idea, since we have that constant flow of water coming through, to maximize that energy and put a hydroelectric facility on that site and actually use that energy to power the pump station. And so getting creative and looking outside the box, and that's a fun project we're working on. And then lastly is the construction of the new Vale Dam. We expect the Upper Valle de los Caballos projects to be done by the end of 2026 for a couple of reasons. One, we want to be aggressive in the schedule so that we can start to maximize that imported raw water. But additionally, we've got grant funding that we've acquired along with ARPA funding, and that has to be spent by the end of 2026. And so that's also helping push and drive that schedule for us. And so here's the timeline. The drilling and equipping of those wells is already underway. That started last month. The pump station construction will start this month, moving a whole lot of dirt on the property right now to set up those pads and facilities for that. The hydroelectric facility construction will start in the winter. That's really the prep work for that. As we've all learned, lead times for materials right now is insane. And so we've got about a year lead time before we can actually get that hydroelectric motor delivered. And so we're getting ready to install it, but a lot of prep work happening. And then later in 2025, and really more than likely to start in early 2026, is the actual construction of the new Vale Dam. We're in the permitting process, we're in the environmental process, and we're working through all of those things right now. And so looking forward to getting those projects underway. What I thought I would do is show a quick video. This is a video from our groundbreaking for our Upper Valle de los Caballos project, and a couple of speakers that were there. And so I'll let that play.
By leveraging this innovative multi-phase approach, Rancho Water not only secures a more reliable water supply for the Southwest Riverside County, but also ensures better water security for all the residents living in the region for years to come. California's groundwater basins are a crucial source of water supply for more than 15 million people, with some communities 100% relying on groundwater.
As we all know, water is fundamental to our daily life and maintaining the quality of life that we all enjoy. These new wells are a strategic investment in creating the necessary flexibility to store the raw water in wet years. And it will bring long-term benefits in the form of water storage that will lend itself to water security in the region.
The system we have for the last 100 years that have served us is not going to serve us for the next 100 years. That means investment into water infrastructure and all the other infrastructure that we need, especially in growing areas like this. And to supply water to consumers, to have this great industry that we call wine country. All of those things depend on us doing our job to make sure we have water.
Today, we are talking about a significant step with the construction of an inline hydroelectric facility that will generate up to 4.3 million kilowatts of clean, renewable energy, translating into substantial energy savings and long-term sustainability. Rancho Water is consistently working on behalf of its customers. This project is just one testament to their hard work. Before we know it, we'll all be here again with a ribbon and some really big scissors.
You want to see it again, do you? Thanks for letting me share that. We're pretty proud of that event and what it's allowing us to accomplish over the next several years. I would encourage you, though, if you ever decide to have a hot air balloon at your event, check with insurance. check with your insurance. It's not cheap. A little bit about our customers and the profile in our area. So about 63% of the water that we deliver goes to urban uses, so residential, commercial. But 37%, over a third of it, goes to our agricultural customers. Now, to put that in context, out of our 46,000 connections that we have, only 1,400 of those are agricultural connections. That represents about 3% of our overall customer base. So 3% of our customers utilizing 37% of our water, but that leads into that $1.2 billion annual economic activity that I talked about. And so that's really an important part of our customer base and something that we obviously focus on. And so just to give a little bit of a background on our ag customers, and for any of you that were at the ag listening session at Eastern a few months back that Met also hosted, I shared some of this information. And one of the things I didn't know until a couple years ago is that the Southwest area of California is actually the nation's largest community of small farms. So when you think about large-scale farming, you think of Central Valley and hundreds of acres of row crops or almond trees and things like that. But we focus on things like nursery products, so cut flowers, cut eucalyptus, avocados is number 2 in the nation, and so on. And so I was pretty impressed and surprised by that. And that's the kind of community that we support, and we're looking for resiliency for those customers. And so in order to help provide some of that resiliency, we know it's not easy to keep up with the economics of farming sometimes. We implemented a program that we call Crop Swap. And again, I know most of you have probably heard of this and are familiar with it. But in 2016, we received a few different grants from DWR and the Bureau of Reclamation in the tune of $4 million to help customers convert high water use crops to lower water use crops. An example of that would be avocados that are very water use intensive, and converting those to wine grapes, which use about a quarter of what an avocado tree might use. And the greater the water savings that customer would realize, the greater the incentive that we would provide. And we found that was such a popular program, and we spent through all of that $4 million that we thought, let's go get some more money. But at the same time, let's see if we can expand it regionally, because agriculture isn't just something that Rancho Water customers do and do for a living. It's something that a lot of our neighbors do throughout the region. And so we've partnered with Fallbrook and Rainbow and Oceanside, Valley Center, the one that's not on here is the city of Escondido. And we went out and got a $5 million grant in order to provide that same level of crop conversion assistance to those customers. So out of that $5 million, since the program launched in April of this year, we already have $1.4 million of that subscribed, meaning there's an application in for it or that conversion is already happening. So a lot of people taking advantage of it. And it's a program that we hope can be evergreen, and we can continue this for the long term to help sustain agriculture in our region. Also wanted to share our support for the Delta Conveyance Project. I know that's a big discussion right now at Met. They're going to be taking this up. Are they going to invest that $141 million into the project? I want to let you know Rancho supports it, and we're actually going to be taking an item to our board next week with a resolution in support of that, and then we'll also be making comments at Met in support of that. And so I appreciate Craig, Joe Mawad, and everybody who have been involved in that and letting us know what's going on and keeping us up to speed on it. And then lastly, I'd just like to close on appreciation for everything that Western has done in regard to Senate Bill 366. And while we know, you got to that finish line and we were so close and it felt good. And we were sitting by a fire pit one night when it got out of it was getting to the governor's desk, and we were just so excited. And, to have that change at the last minute was very disappointing. But what wasn't disappointing was the amount of work and collaboration and leadership. And again, specifically want to single out Craig and your team's efforts to get that bill to where it was. It just goes to show you what courage and leadership can accomplish. And so I expect we'll see some form of this coming back in the near future. Yeah, 2.0, exactly. Crop Swap 2.0, 366 2.0. So I encourage that. We look forward to seeing what that looks like. And again, just very proud to be part of that regional community that did put together such a great effort on this Senate bill. And with that, I want to thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you very much. Are there questions?
Couple of questions. Well, one, I don't think you highlighted it in here, but you received Large Business of the Year for the Marietta Wildemar Chamber, so congratulations.
Thank you.
You beat us out by
So close.
so close. That's all right. Means you can't compete next year.
There you go. There you go. We respectfully withdraw.
So congratulations to you guys for that accomplishment. That was a huge deal for water to be recognized at that event with so many worthy businesses that come forward with that. So that was definitely a great thing. Curious on your 4 wells that you've shut down for PFAS, are we sharing, I assume we're sharing data and information between agencies? Because, we have a little bit of a vested interest as well. We share a basin, and we want to make sure that we're collaborating on all that information. So I'd be curious to know which 4 wells, which side are they on? Are they on the Santa Rosa side, or are they on the Rancho side?
They're on the Rancho side.
Okay,
and
good.
They're on, in the,
I mean, not good, but
Yeah.
okay, better for us. So,
Yeah.
okay.
And I would categorize them as being in the southern half of
Okay.
that division, and so not directly adjacent to any of your facilities. But those are offline, and we're currently looking at treatment options for those. And we are collaborating with all the agencies to understand, what is Western doing to potentially treat
Yeah.
and mitigate PFAS? What is Eastern doing? So there's a lot of discussion about that.
Okay, that's great. And then another thing that you didn't bring up, because you guys have got a lot of stuff going on, and I know you're now under the gun for some of this stuff to get Vail and everything done,
Yeah.
but we've got the Olympics coming to a venue that's going to be in your
yeah.
service territory.
Yeah.
So kind of curious if you guys are doing anything to prep for the Olympic Games coming, because that's going to be a huge turnout. Wine Country
Yeah.
is going to be inundated with a lot of visitors that are going to be staying for quite some time, since it's an equestrian venue. They'll
Correct.
be bringing stuff in way ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
So just kind of curious what you guys are doing for the anticipation of the population drop
Sure.
in that region.
Yeah. Well, we're very excited. I mean, that's a huge win for the region, and we hope that will turn into, long-term growth and economic activity. You don't want it just to be a blip on the radar when the Olympics are there. You want it to be long-lasting. I actually sat down last week with Mike Millay. He's with a company that is working with Galloway Downs, where the facility where the events would be held, to start to prepare for everything that needs to be done. And so I sat down with him so I could share our projects that are going on, letting him know what may potentially impact. For example, Vail Dam will be, going strong at that point, and we're
Yeah.
going to be bringing it. There's a lot of truck traffic on the road, and so we want to work with them to know, okay, what are the windows that work, what are the windows that don't for truck traffic, and maybe we even put something in the contract with our construction vendor to say, you know what, we're going to pause, for a little bit. We're not going to have trucks
Yeah.
on the road at that time. And so we're having those kinds of discussions. They're also asking for our input on how, from a water district's perspective, we can support them. And I said, well, we can't give you free water.
Right.
There's
Right,
that.
right.
But can we be a partner in providing maybe some property to park cars? Because all of the visitors that go in and out of the facility are going to be shuttled in. There won't be any on-site parking at Galloway Downs, and so it's going to be a shuttle process. And so do we have facilities that might, accommodate them, parking vehicles and shuttling attendees back and forth? And so those kinds of things are stuff we're already talking about, even though it's still 3.5 years down the road, we're having those conversations.
Oh, yeah, no, but you need to plan now.
Yeah.
So you need to plan now, and it's going to be really interesting too to see what your water usage is going to change with the population that's going to come and drop in, and all of the horses that are going to be shipped in from all over the world.
Yeah.
you know, just to see what those numbers are like. So I'm just kind of curious and looking forward to doing that. So hopefully, everything will run very smoothly.
One of the things I learned about the horses, they had another event out there last week, an equestrian event, and there were 900 horses that were brought in for these
Yeah.
events. And that shocked me. That's a huge number, but I thought, well, it has to be larger for the Olympics. Actually, it's much smaller. There's only going to be about 200 horses that come in for the Olympics. So it's smaller number of horses, but a
Larger growth
larger
of-
attendees,
yeah.
more people actually going to the event. So I was surprised by that.
Wow, okay, all right, well, more to come on that, so, well, thank you for being here today, certainly appreciate that, and appreciate the collaboration and the partnership that we share with you guys for many years on a lot of different ventures, so.
For sure. Thank you.
Questions?
No, just thank you for being here, and I look forward to working with you on Shore.
Excellent. Thank you.
Director Roden, Director Torres?
Great presentation, thank you.
Thank you.
I did have one question, Jason. Your in-pipe hydro facility,
Yes.
are you going to sell that power to the grid, or have you found a way to use it directly?
Yeah, our plan is to use it directly on site to power that pump station that's there. It won't
Okay.
provide all of the power, but it will provide
Right.
a significant amount. And because there's that constant flow, it just makes sense to,
Sure.
take advantage of that pressure that we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's one of the drawbacks to those kinds of facilities is if you have to sell to the grid under current rules, you don't get the economic value that you can get if you can use it yourself.
Exactly.
So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
That's going to be a nice thing.
And that's
Riverside
why-
Public
that's why I
Utilities
penciled
has a little one that they have used for, gosh, it's got to be close to 10 years old now.
Yeah.
And that has been successful.
Yeah.
So, good luck with that one, and congratulations.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much for coming and talking with us today, and congratulations on your elevation.
I appreciate that.
We look forward to working with you and your board and the rest of your staff, as we always have. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate the partnership, and thanks for having me this morning. Thanks, guys.
Okay, brings us to the consent calendars. Anybody wish to pull anything for discussion?
Move to
consent.
approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. I'll let Tammy sort that out. Okay, any discussion? All right, when the system is ready, a roll call, please.
Director Torres,
Yes.
Director Dinstedt,
Aye?
Director Roten,
Yes.
Director Risby.
Aye.
President Gardner.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Have we anything to add to the agenda today?
Nothing to add today.
Okay, we have two action items. Our first is to consider receive, well, not to consider, to receive and file the operating budget and actual report, budget to actual report through June 30. I understand that that's
Thank you.
Mr.
Peter George is here to present this item. Peter?
And thank you, Craig. And good morning, directors. I'm Peter George, Controller at Western Water. And this morning, I'll be presenting the budget to actual results for fiscal year 23-24 for the period year ending June 30, 2024. The board letter in the packet for this agenda item includes a full report with narrative on significant budget to actual variances. Attachment 1 to the letter is the consolidated report, which is by category level, and combined reports are by the fund group. And this presentation will summarize the major points from the budget to actual report. Next slide, Justin. So the purpose of this report is the budget to actual report tells us how Western performed against the board adopted operating budget. As such, only operating funds are included in the amounts presented. All designated funds, such as asset replacement fund, capacity charge funds, etc., are excluded from this report. This report is looking at the performance on a budgetary basis, which focuses primarily on cash transactions affecting Western Water. The budgetary basis is different from the full accrual basis used in preparing the annual comprehensive financial report, or ACFR, for items such as depreciation, capacity charge revenues, unrealized gain or loss on investments that are not included in the budget but are included for financial reporting purposes. Western's fiscal year 23-24 ACFR will be presented together with Western's audit at a future board meeting. Next slide. So summarize results. How do we do? The adopted budget had a $3.6 million net surplus, while actuals were a net surplus of $21.4 million, or resulting in a $17.8 million favorable variance. To put this into context, the $17.8 million favorable variance of net surplus is 10.4% of the fiscal year 23-24 budgeted operating and non-operating revenues. Next slide. These category items are the key contributors to the favorable variance in fiscal year 23-24. The $2.7 million favorable variance in the investment income was due to better than expected investment portfolio performance relating to dividends and interest earned during the year. The property tax revenue had a $5.8 million favorable variance compared to the budget, and this is mainly due to higher property tax revenues or tax receipts from countywide assessed valuations than the budget. Property tax revenues are generally budgeted more conservatively. And then the $8.6 million favorable variance in the other non-operating revenues is primarily due to the sale of service rights in the Mills Gravity Line to Elsinore Valley Municipal Water District, which took place in August of 2023. Next slide. This slide presents the budget to actual results at the fund group level. The majority of the overall favorable variance of $17.8 million is coming from the general district and not from the retail ratepayer supported water and sewer funds. The main cause of the overall favorable variance is again caused by the realized investment income, better outcome of property tax revenues, and the sale of service rights as previously discussed. The retail water funds had an unfavorable variance of approximately $200,000. The wastewater funds had a favorable variance of approximately $200,000. The wholesale water funds were in line with the budget, and the desalter water funds had an unfavorable variance of approximately $1.8 million due to lower demand from other agencies purchasing the Arlington desalter water. So what will the net surplus be used for? As mentioned previously, $8.2 million, or almost half of the overall surplus favorable variance of $17.8 million, is from the sale of the service rights in the Mills Gravity Line. However, Weston will collect this amount over the next 18 years in annual installments of $555,000. The general district will use the remainder of the surplus to pay for capital projects in the capital improvement and facilities plan for fiscal year 24-25 and add to the reserves of the general district. Next slide. And Western's fiscal year 23-24 ACFR, again, will be presented together with results of our audit at a future board meeting. This concludes the presentation, and be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Does anyone have questions? Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Great
Thank you.
report, good result.
Move
you.
to approve.
I'll second.
I don't know if we need to do
We
that for
receive
receive
and
and
file.
file.
We do, we do.
Okay,
Yeah, we
We
still
do,
need a
she
vote on
said.
that.
okay,
I'm okay.
just checking.
Director Torres?
Yes.
Director Dinstedt?
Aye.
Director Roten?
Yes.
Director Rizvi?
Aye.
President Gardner?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 5-0.
Great, thank you. And our next item is, there was a complaint filed at the Fair Political Practices Commission regarding Director Torres. They have taken an action. I asked our ad hoc advisory committee to take a look at the FPPC action and make a recommendation to whether the board should take any action, and if so, what that would be. They have done that, and Mr. Ballinger, will you lead this one off for us?
Sure, I can. The subcommittee asked that I provide the staff report for this, so I will do that briefly, and then if the subcommittee wants to supplement it with any of their thoughts, they're certainly welcome to do so as a subcommittee. President and directors of the board, as the president mentioned, this matter arises from a warning letter that the FPPC issued to Director Torres in April of 2024. By way of background, in approximately September of 2023, a complaint was filed with the FPPC against Director Torres alleging certain filing violations that are required under the Political Reform Act by two of Director Torres's campaigns. In December of 2023, the board created a subcommittee to look into what to do with regard to allegations that Director Torres failed to disclose the the investigation that was going on. And then in January of 2024, that matter was brought back to the board for the board to consider, and the board voted 4-1 to reprimand Director Torres based on that activity. As I mentioned, on April 15th, the FPPC issued a warning letter to Director Torres based on her campaign's failure to timely report certain contributions and expenditures that were made at the beginning of 2023. At that time, Director Torres advised legal counsel as well as the board of the warning letter, as she's required to do under the district's ethics policy. At that time, the board created this subcommittee, and over the last few months, the subcommittee has looked at the warning letter and has also looked at the background and other actions that the board has taken with regard to Director Torres over the last couple of years. After considering all of those facts, the subcommittee took into consideration the fact that Director Torres and her committee corrected the information on the FPPC forms once she was alerted to the errors, and the committee is recommending that the board strongly recommend to Director Torres that she take training with regard to filing obligations under the Political Reform Act, and that she report back to the board no later than 6 months with regard to that training that they are recommending. In the staff report, there's some information about possible types of training that Director Torres might take. And we've also provided the background that the subcommittee looked at so that the entire board can consider the same information. That concludes my presentation. Again, if the subcommittee wishes to supplement it, they're certainly welcome to do so.
Let me turn then to the subcommittee and see if they have anything that they would like to add.
Just really briefly, when this was on our agenda, the last meeting, right? Ms. Torres mentioned that even though, unbeknownst to us, that she had already taken the training. Oh, you just recently did? Okay, so I thought, well, we're definitely on the same page, so that's awesome. As far as reporting back on the training, I don't know if that's anything that you want to do now or if you want to do it. That was my plan. Okay, so that's just really what I wanted to say, since it was new information to all of us at the last board meeting. So we didn't realize you had done that already. So, yeah, I don't really have any other comments. Fazia, do you?
Just, that training is a really good resource for all of us. I had no idea that was something was that available. I was going through it and I felt like I learned some new stuff. So I think it would be good for all of us to do so. So thank you.
Okay. With that, Director Torres, do you want to say something? You don't need to, and my intention is just to ask the board what it is they would like to do at this point.
I mean, I was going to wait until director's comments because, at the end it says for me to report back, and it was timely. The Treasury group that I've hired now, that, with this transition to make sure that this stops happening. They provided a training. I took it. In early September, mid-September. So obviously not knowing this was going to be the recommendation, so it worked out. But I guess I'm going to fulfill my 6-month recommendation now to report back that I have had this training. I know a lot of us just entrust our treasurers with everything. Obviously, this isn't my forte, but that one of the things that I did to cure or fix this is get a new treasury group with get a new treasury group. We obviously amended and fixed the things, and then a lot of the allegations were just completely unfounded. But I was trying to take my own course, not necessarily because of this, but because it really sucks to keep getting these. So, but regardless, that was going to be the only thing I said was that I fulfilled it.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Was it through the FPPC?
Yeah, it's actually
I was curious, so we could you know, because I agree with Director Rizvi, I would like to take this at some point.
It was
and-
it was the one that is recommended in here.
Oh,
She
okay.
basically, you know, prepared a training and using the same website. She, you know, it was all through Zoom. It was actually really nice.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Okay, let me then ask the board what your pleasure is. Do we want to do anything? Is there a motion to do anything? I don't know that one is required at all. So,
Mr. President, I would recommend that we go on the record that this was the recommendation of the committee and that Director Torres has complied with the recommendation. I think that's a fair assessment of the according history and to be able to document that accordingly. So
I think our minutes will in fact do that.
yeah, so I mean, I think we should just follow through and I would direct it back to council if that's a formal recommendation, motion, and a vote that should be taken to memorialize it. And if that would be appropriate, I think that would be the course of action to go.
Should is kind of a loaded term. It's really a policy matter for the board to take. It's entirely within your discretion. If you want to do something formal, or if you don't, that's entirely within your prerogative as a board.
I think it's consistent, and I think it's fair to just say, move committee's recommendation, and that Director Torres has in fact agreed and complied with the recommendation prior to this, and we call that however you'd like to word that in a motion.
Would it be fair to say that your motion is to accept the committee's recommendation for Director Torres to complete training and acknowledge receipt of Director Torres's report that she has completed the training?
I have no problem with that if the committee has no problem with that.
We're okay with it. I'll make that motion.
Okay,
Motion by Director Rizvi,
I'll second it.
Okay, is there any discussion? If not, Tammy, if you would do a roll call vote, please.
Director Torres,
Yes.
Director Dinstead,
Aye.
Director Roten,
Yes.
Director Rizvi,
Aye.
President Gardner.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. And just in closing on this, the training is so important for us to understand. We do all trust our treasurers, but it's our responsibility to get our treasurers to follow the rules. And it has to be embarrassing individually if there's a complaint filed against you, and especially if it's upheld in some way by the regulatory agency. And it's embarrassing to the district. So I would urge all of us to learn more about this, because there was, I don't think anybody is suggesting there was ever any ill intent. There were mistakes. And the more you know, the less likely you are to have a mistake happen. So everybody pay attention, please. Moving on then to reports, Mr. General Counsel.
I do not, but if any of the board members are interested in copies of the 2 Supreme Court cases that I mentioned earlier, I have a copy here for you. Oh, should have known she would.
Thank you. General Manager.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's start off with Western Leads. So this is our internal program for leadership training for the organization. So really enjoyed the executive management team getting together with our leadership coach. We've been doing this since a little bit before the pandemic. We've found it to be kind of transformational for the way that we work together, and it's been great. So we're continuing that work. What is new is the Western management team, which is kind of the next level of management team, has kicked off training, and they're well into it now. But they also got together last week, 2 weeks ago, and furthered their journey on leadership training. We're using the same trainer, so we thought it'd be very valuable to all kind of hear the same things, so we can kind of leverage that training that we're getting when the trainers aren't here, and that really has worked. So super excited about that. Employee events. So we told you about Employee Appreciation Week. So we had our quarterly all-hands meeting on October 23rd out at El Sobrante. Pull the whole staff out there, which I think is great. We've had really good input from the staff that they like doing it all together, not being split into two different buildings. It was standing room only. I think we had 160 employees, so almost every single employee was there. Great presentation. The best part about it was it came from staff, not me, and they talked about some of our really neat programs that we've been accomplishing, including the Murrieta water quality treatment facility that our staff's built out there, and lots of praise from the staff that wasn't involved with the comprehensive effort to get that up and operating and successful. So that was really fun to watch. Also, two other employee appreciation gatherings. We got together for coffee here at this office and then out at El Sobrante at the crack of dawn for coffee out there. So really fun to engage with the staff and kind of be able to spend some time and actually learn more about people on the private side as opposed to just what we do on the professional side, assigning work and getting work done. So it's fun to learn about our staff, and I think the group really enjoys that. The next one, Jason kind of brought this up. We had our quarterly retail managers meeting. So this is, all of our agency groups within our service area, and those meetings are super productive now. Very well attended. All but Elsinore was there, and they wanted us to move the date because they had an employee function at the same time. And so unfortunately, no time works well for everybody. So they actually weren't able to attend, but I actually went to lunch with Greg Thomas the day before, so I kind of gave him a brief on everything we were going to talk about. But those are very interactive meetings. So Director Denstead asked about PFAS. That's a regular topic at that meeting. We talk about our PFAS treatment. We talk about other agencies' PFAS treatment. We talk about regulations, where we feel regulations are going to move, what to prepare for as far as your need to treat. A lot of the focus in our meeting this quarter was on MET issues. And so you heard Jason talk about he's going to be up at Metropolitan on the 10th. Several of the agencies are taking resolutions just like our board did, supporting Delta Conveyance. I'm trying to get all of the agencies to go up and make public comment. So that was really productive. And it's really influential and impactful what Metropolitan does to them, obviously. They want rates to be controlled and predictable, just like we do for our retail customers. They want a long-term water supply, just like we do. So those discussions are very interactive, and they provide some really good input for us, too. It's not just us talking at them. So I take that information and, we use that up at Metropolitan to speak on behalf of our whole service area, not just what Western thinks the service area needs. Let's see. Met initiatives, we are kind of going full speed on the Met business model. Ryan attended a 2-day retreat on my behalf. I was not available to go to that, so I appreciated Ryan doing that. So that's a group of all 26 member agency GMs who are, by March, supposed to come up with some potential revisions to the Met business model. So we're going to be meeting once a month to try and achieve that. That's going to be really hard. The Met board has been arguing about these things for 3 decades. So the general managers got handed this off and said, hey, fix it by March. So it's going to be really challenging, but the member agencies are really engaged. And so we're putting we're putting all of our efforts into this. I'm fortunate to be on what they're calling the liaison group. So there's 4 of us that are kind of planning the schedule and trying to kind of organize the topics for these retreats. So that's been really interesting. We have hired an outside facilitator because, as you would imagine, trying to get 26 member agencies to agree on what the business model should be is no small feat. Also, we're going strong on the GM roundtable up at Metropolitan. So this is Devin Upadhyay, the interim GM, calling together all 26 member agencies to sit in a room. It's not, you can't delegate to anybody else. Only GMs get to sit there. They lock the doors, shut off the videos, and we can really give our opinions on what we want to see out of Met, and it's a lively conversation. And I will not share any more than that. And we all leave on good terms. I talked to the Monday morning group this morning. Joe Mawad and I both did. We were invited to talk about our water policy initiatives and what we would like the Monday morning group to do with their lobbying efforts over the next year. So we had that meeting this morning.
So you talked to the Monday morning group on Wednesday?
I always talk to the Monday morning group on Wednesday. Somehow, I don't understand it at all, but they think they should meet on Wednesdays. I'm sure there's a big story. I don't know it. I focused on the December 10th vote on Delta Conveyance with that group, imploring them to get the business community to come out and talk about the importance of Delta Conveyance to Southern California and to Riverside County. So I'll continue to push with them. They also want issues that they should be bringing up when they go to Sacramento in February. So Michael and Jolene Walsh, we have for probably the last 5 years, ever since Michael's been here, we've been creating PowerPoints and talking points for Monday morning group to use when they go to Sacramento and then to DC whenever they end up going. Usually it's like May or so. April. So we'll continue to do that. That's a great resource for us, so we're happy to help out that group. And Joe and his team are all in also. So that's the Met update. Happy to answer questions. The other one, you've heard me talk about the Water Solutions Summit Group. So this is a group that was formed a little over 2 years ago. And this was calling together general managers from around the state to try and figure out how to start moving water infrastructure projects forward, because the path that we're on, nothing is moving forward. So this group, very influential, general managers from their regions. This is Ag, Urban, NorCal, SoCal. We also have associations that have joined into this group. It's invite only. We met last week. This is where SB 366 came out of. The overwhelming perspective of this group was we need to do the bill again. It was too important to give up on. So that was a really encouraging conversation. A lot of good ideas as to some tweaks that we want to make to the bill and some strategies that we want to implement right now before the bill gets even in front of the legislature or in front of the governor again. So that being said, next week I'll be in Sacramento for a couple days working with the leadership team on California Water for All. And actually I have a meeting with Carla Nemeth also to discuss it. So
just a quick,
lots going on.
just a quick piggyback on that. Did Senator Caballero finish, or is she still?
No, she's 2 more years.
Okay, good.
And,
I don't know why I keep thinking that she's done.
No, thank goodness she's not done.
Right, right.
And actually, her staff called into the Solutions Summit meeting to listen to the conversation and shared with us that they've already been working with DWR and their staff. And so they're, outside of us, they're already having conversations, and there's a lot of really positive statements coming from DWR about the bill. So next week will be an important week on setting that process, or not setting that process.
Is she willing to carry the bill again?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
She has to decide that still.
Okay.
We're in that phase where everyone is
What do-
making decisions of whether they're ready to do this. And CMUA is the same way.
Okay.
So CMUA was the sponsor. They have to go through their process to determine whether they want to lead the effort again. And the co-sponsors weighed in, and they've both indicated that they would want to be co-sponsors again on the bill. I think, December 4th, board meeting. I'm proposing that we cancel it because a majority of you are not going to be here. You're going to be at Aqua. So I'd like to, you still want to do it? You might, yeah, you might end up lonely. So if the board is okay with that, I think it would be a good idea just to cancel that. Staff's already figured out all the issues of the workload, and we're fine with that. The other one is the January meetings. I'm proposing that we slide both of those 1 week because the first Wednesday is the 1st of January, and I think you probably would like to do other things
Yes.
than be here at 9:30 in the morning on January 1st. We have a lot of business to do. The seating of officers and approval of the matrix and some other statutorily required things. So I don't want to cancel either of those meetings. We're proposing just move them to the 2nd and 4th
Okay.
Wednesdays. So hopefully that works on your calendars.
I'll be okay.
We'll make it work.
Let
Yeah,
us
I'll
know
put it on- yeah, I'll
quickly
put it on
if
my
you
calendar
cannot
now.
make it, so we can make sure that we have a quorum here to do that.
I think I'll be okay.
And then
I don't have-
lastly, I want to congratulate Directors Risby and Roten. I don't know if we're allowed to say congratulations till the last vote's counted, but hopefully you're breathing easier. It seems like you're heading in a really good direction, so congratulations to both of you. It's great to have our board stay together.
Thank you.
And that concludes my comments. I'd love to answer any questions you have.
Are there questions for the general manager? No. Looks like you're off the hook.
Great.
Thank you. Brings us to directors' reports and requests. SAPA did meet yesterday. There is a ongoing study and a management group to deal with bacteria in the Santa Ana River and its tributaries. There are portions of the river that exceed the limits for some bacteria some of the time. So that's going to require some additional work. And the SAPA board yesterday authorized a contract, actually authorized the general manager to execute a contract with a consultant to expand that work to cover those things. It's kind of an ongoing process. They also received a really interesting report. I think everybody is familiar with a plant called Arundo donax, or giant reed. It looks like bamboo. It is really nasty stuff. It was imported from Italy, actually. For some unknown reason, its only real use seems to be as material for reeds for saxophones. But there's a whole lot more Arundo out there than there is demand for saxophone reeds. So it also is it's a very thirsty plant. It spreads incredibly easily. And so there's a eradication program. It's starting in the headwaters, which is smart because in a flood, any little piece of Arundo that washes downstream, whether it's a root or a joint in the stalk, is capable of generating a whole new plant, which will then generate other new plants.
Is it pretty?
No.
You said it looked like bamboo.
Yeah.
It's not ugly, but.
Well,
It's not
and
pretty.
it depends on the age of the stand too.
Wow.
Because, over time, individual stalks will lean over and die. And, yeah, it's a huge fire hazard. It redirects water from where you want it. It sucks up very large amounts of water. It's just a bad thing. It has essentially no environmental benefit other than, like every other plant, it does eat up carbon dioxide and produce some oxygen, but it displaces willows, the whole range of willow species, which are an important species in riparian areas. It's nesting site for a protected bird, the leaf-spills vireo, and if there are any left around here, yellow-billed cuckoo. So it's not a good thing, and we're trying to get rid of it. They're making some progress. And then the PA 24 committee, which oversees the Inland Empire Brine Line, met and received an update on a portion of the pipeline, did a big inspection. It looks good. We're going to inspect it again in 10 years, but it looks like in the next 20 years, other than routine maintenance, it won't require anything, which is good news. And there is something called a sewer system management plan, which I did not know existed, but it does, and there was an audit. And there are a couple places where the brine line is not being operated entirely consistently with best practices, and steps have been taken to correct that. So there's a report on that yesterday. No action was taken or needed to be taken. It was just an update. And that's it for SLAPA. Metropolitan.
Metropolitan, we did have a special board meeting, however, I can't really discuss any of it because it was all in closed session. So, all I can tell you is that the investigations are ongoing.
Investigations.
That's all I can report out. So,
Just a quick question on that, Director. There is no projected date for a next step at this point?
no, there is not,
Okay, thank you.
because of anyway, I gotta be careful what I say.
Sure.
The chairman did in fact move the board meetings off and changed the weeks because of the election. There were several of our board members that were up for reelection, and he wanted to free the time up, so we did not have a meeting yesterday or the day before. And because of the holiday next week on Monday, he elected to move that to the 18th, 19th, and 20th for the Camp for Water. So I'm having that posted for this building, so if we finish our board meeting in time, we can Zoom participation with the Camp for Water process. But, yeah, so there's been a shift of the calendar at the last minute dealing with all this stuff, and that's all I can really say.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions on that one?
No.
Chino Basin Water Master did meet. They received some updates on things. The one significant action that they took was a resolution to petition the court to increase the allowed storage of water in the basin from 700,000 acre feet to 900,000 acre feet. An environmental review of that had already been completed and found that there are no significant adverse impacts of increasing the storage level. This was necessitated by the fact that given the last 2 wet years and Metropolitan storing this past year 40,000 acre feet of water in the dry year yield program in Chino Basin. We were going to be at 708,000 acre feet of storage, which is 8,000 more than is permitted. So before we authorize the additional storage that has actually occurred, but it hasn't been attributed to anybody yet, or we're asking the court to jump to the 900,000 acre feet. We anticipate that will happen without any challenge. So nobody is very concerned about it. One thing that is of a little bit of concern to some of the appropriators is that increased storage can have a negative impact on the safe yield, pumping yield, on an annual basis from the basin. And some of the appropriative pool members are a little concerned about how that will affect them and if anything special ought to be done in recognition of that. No actions have been taken yet, although the pool has met in closed session. I don't know if they have settled on anything. They have not announced anything yet. There's not unanimity of thinking at all in that pool on almost anything. So the adventure continues. CDA.
That meeting would have been tomorrow, but it was canceled. Lack of agenda items.
Okay. RCRA.
We will meet in December.
Okay. WRCOG.
Yes, WRCOG met on Monday, and the most significant things that we talked about were really TUMF items, which doesn't really have anything to do with us, but there was some interesting things that came out of that, just for your knowledge. TUMF reimbursement agreements were scheduled to do with the city of Wildomar for doing some improvements down on Bundy Road and the I-15 exchange, so that's going to be an interesting update down there for traffic. But the other one, significant dollars are being put forward for the realignment for the 79 going through San Jacinto and the back roads back over here, because we have a lot of people that come from the desert communities and cut through there. So 35 million has been allocated for TUMP stuff to get that moving, because that's been a project that I know Congressman Calvert has worked on for a number of years. Supervisor Washington has worked on things for years. The councils out there have worked on things for years. They've had tremendous amount of fatalities out there with accidents late at night. So those improvements have been a long time coming, and I'm sure that the community is looking forward to it, although the construction won't be fun. But once they get done, it will be much better. So just a little update on that. And then there was some discussion over somebody had brought up the fact of over hybrid meetings versus in-person meetings. The executive body elected to stay in person and to comply with the original Brown Act rules from the 88 rules. And if you want to post a location, to post that address and not to have actual remote set locations out there. And then there was some talk about the stipends, because there are some cities that earn their stipend through WRCOG and they don't get paid by their city jurisdiction, and they don't get paid mileage by WRCOG, so that has been a line of discussion. So that's going to come back at the next meeting. And then I spoke to the executive director, Kurt Wilson, this morning. It would appear at this moment that Rita Rogers, the current sitting chair, is not going to be successful in her reelection, which under the bylaws automatically puts me into the chair role.
Wow. Congratulations.
So, well, wasn't ready for that. My calendar's going to have to adjust significantly. So, so more posted on that. So if numbers change, we will, obviously, the election doesn't get certified until December. And quite honestly, I'm rather shocked. Rita has been in office for 25 years. She has been a diligent public service servant for her community, for the March of Dimes, for a number of organizations and nonprofits that she's worked at, and religious organizations, a variety of different things. So I'm very sad to see those results. She's been a wonderful colleague for many years.
That one is surprising. But the lead is very substantial and is unlikely to change.
It was very shocking.
Yeah.
It was very shocking. So, you know, hopefully, I'm sure our government affairs person is keeping track of who it is, but we need to acknowledge some people with their customer, with their service that they've done to their communities, you know, for sure. So,
Well,
more
and
to
Rita
come
sat
that.
on the March JPA
Yes.
board for quite some time.
For quite some time, yes. I mean, she served in a number of roles
Yeah,
throughout this
all
county
over,
for a very
yeah.
long time. And, you know, both on her leaded role, her elected role, but also as a volunteer in many capacities and serving on nonprofits and, you know, a variety of different things. So, and she did some huge fundraising for WRCOG's General Assembly for the speaker that we had last year. So she got great turnout for a number of people that supported that. So very, very shocking results, very
Yeah.
shocking results. So I definitely wish her well.
Okay, Sarah.
We will finally meet next Tuesday.
Aqua Region 9.
Aqua Region 9. So we have conference coming up here at the first week of December. So I look forward to seeing everybody attend that. It should be a wonderful gathering down there in the desert. So we do have scheduled for Region 9's program, we have an ag program. So we've gotten some great speakers to come and talk about ag. Obviously, Rancho came in and talked about the considerable amount of ag and what that means to their economy down there. So we had a program recently that was held out at Eastern for an ag listening session with Met and listening to a variety of different folks. But it plays a significant economic value to our region and to the state. And so we really wanted to highlight some of the challenges and some of the things, because I think ag doesn't get its due when it talks about all of the things that they're doing to save water and conserve and make their crops more viable with the amount of water that they have and what they're trying to use. So really looking forward to that program. It should be a wonderful program, and I'm hoping we have a great turnout for it.
Great. Okay, director's comments. Start with you, Director Denstedt.
I think I'm done for the day.
Okay, Director Risby.
Well, I just want to thank everyone, my community, and my colleagues for re-electing me and believing in my work. So I'm looking forward to continue to serving at this board and doing some good work. So thank you, everyone.
Good. Director Torres.
Yeah, I just wanted to take a second to publicly congratulate both Director Dunst, oh my God, well, Director Dunstead also. Yeah, and Director Roughton and Director Risby on their elections. I know water is very different, our elections are very different, but it still, I think, is a testament of the work that you're doing in your communities. You show up, and people know that, and congratulations. I look forward to working with you for the next, I have 2 years, so for the next 2 years. And then I'll be attending the WELL conference. I look forward to this every 6 months. It's in 2 weeks, and so I will report back then. And I already gave my FPPC report, so.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Director Roden.
Whoops. I also wanted to say thank you for the congratulations and the support, and I'm really excited to have a full 4-year term ahead of me now. I can't believe how fast the first 3 years went, but it's like you feel like you're just getting going, and and then this is coming up and this is coming, and so a lot of apprehension the last few weeks, but from all appearances, it looks like all is well. So congratulations to Director Risby as well. And then I just wanted to mention one thing. It's not 100% with a tie to water, but this afternoon I'm going to be able to attend the very first Blue Zone kickoff meeting in the city of Riverside, and I'm doing that in the capacity of Habitat for Humanity Riverside, with the housing component being part of a healthy community. But of course, I feel like water is part of a healthy community too. So I will share any insights that I get from this initial meeting. It just kind of worked out really well because our executive director's back in Atlanta doing some training with a new employee that we have and couldn't go. And I'm like, I'll go. So I don't know how many of you know that when I was with the city of Hoopa Valley on the council, I helped to start the Healthy Hoopa Valley Initiative, which is still going very strong. And in fact, just a short aside about that, Reach Out, which is the nonprofit that helps facilitate that initiative, along with the city of Hoopa Valley, are one of 10 national finalists in the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation grant, and it's going to be the last one like this that they're giving, and it's a $250,000 prize. So I got to participate in their part of their day when Robert Wood Johnson came out and did a tour and some panels, some different groupings that they interviewed with, and I walked away with just a great feeling from them. I think we were the first of the 10 that they had interviewed, but I'm like, that's not a bad thing. Now they have to compare everyone to us. So anyway, like I say, not 100% attached to water, but it gets woven in there because water affects everything and we have to have it for everything. So I'll look forward to sharing a brief report on the Blue Zone meeting maybe next time. But and I think that's it. Yeah. And I forgot my phone today, so I'm all disjointed. So, I almost did, but I was like, no, I don't want to be late. So anyway, that's it for me.
Thank you. I've got just a couple of things. Going back to SAWPA for a moment, the SAWPA chair, Bruce Whitaker from Orange County Water District, is termed out as a council member. It's not clear who will replace him as OCWD's representative on SAWPA. I am scheduled in the normal rotation to be chair next year. They may move that up. They may just function without a formal chair for a period of time, or the replacement may function as chair until first of the year when SAWPA normally would take a formal action. The general managers have pointed out to SAWPA staff that there's going to be some noticeable changeover in SAWPA membership, and each of the partner member agencies will be designating their representative. So they've suggested maybe you don't select officers until after each of the member agencies have identified their representative. So that's a little bit up in the air. We don't know for sure what will happen, but I think at the next meeting, a decision will get made. We'll find out what it is. And the last is, I think probably most of you have heard, but June Hayes, a director at San Bernardino Valley District, passed away a week or two ago. She's a longtime board member. She was Valley District's representative to a number of outside agencies, including SAWPA, for many years. And she will be missed, and I would like to adjourn today's meeting in her honor and memory. So, and are there any requests for future agenda items?
I talked to Heather Dyer yesterday, and she said that they're planning a service for Friday
Yes, actually,
at
yeah,
Valley.
at the district.
at the district.
Yes.
Yeah, Tammy will send that info around. You know, I hadn't heard anything, and I just asked her yesterday, so.
Thank you. And with that, our next meeting is November the 20th at 9:30 here, and we will adjourn in honor and memory of Director June Hayes. Thank you very much. We are adjourned.